Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 403 of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Dusty Porter here, the host of the show. I hope all of you are having a great day whenever you're listening to this. Don't forget, wherever and however you download and consume your podcast, you can subscribe to the show. It's absolutely free. A couple of ways you can support us is you can support our sponsor, TubeBuddy, the one tool and AI tool that I recommend all creators try. You get a free 30-day trial. Definitely check the link out down below. As well as I offer professional YouTube coaching and channel audits if that's something that interests you. And then we also have one of the fastest growing YouTube creator communities on the internet where you can support us for $5 over on Patreon and get access to that community, as well as our monthly mastermind calls that I host on Zoom. We pick a different topic each and every month and we cover it and we talk about the different struggles and things that we're going through as creators. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, definitely check that out below if you haven't already. All right, so today is just going to be me. No guest, no interview, just a raw, behind-the-scenes topic that I've wanted to talk about for a while. And it really was spurred from a personal experience in my business. So we're going to start from the beginning, and then we're going to break it down because I believe that 99.9% of creators struggle with this in some way, shape, or form. So today we're talking about knowing your worth, being able to price your YouTube skills and content in general, doing so properly and not undervaluing yourself. So basically, I'm going to share a personal kind of experience with you at the top here, and then we're going to dive into it as to why I think this happens and what we can do to make sure that it doesn't. So it was about, a little less than a month ago, and I was on a coaching call with a client, and we were doing the normal YouTube channel audit, which I do on the first call with a new client, and we got done with the call. It was about a 40-minute call. They paid for 30. We did about 10 minutes extra, and they told me, they said, are you not going to try to upsell me? Are you not going to try to sell me a package of 4 more calls after this? The guy literally told me that he was willing to pay me a couple of thousands of dollars to lock me in for 4 to 6 more coaching calls, which, by the way, is 5 times more than what I charged him. I believe he got like $50 for 30 minutes of my time. And he said, hey, can I be honest with you? And I said, yes, please, I'd love for you to. He said, the amount of stuff that we just covered in the last 30 minutes, I would be willing to pay $500 for or more. He said, you allowed me to screen share. We looked at my YouTube analytics. You told me what the problem was. I was able to understand it. And now you're just hanging up the call and you're not trying to capture me as a recurring form of revenue as a coaching client. And as soon as I hung up with him, I went out and I went for my walk. I was walking my dog and I thought about this for 30 straight minutes. And I said, how much money have I left on the table because I wasn't willing to ask people what it was worth? To this individual, it was worth almost 5 times, if not more, what he initially paid. And not only was I not valuing myself, I was not putting the proper systems in place to follow up with the people who wanted to connect and work with me more. Since that moment, I have made some drastic changes. Number one, I increased my price. Now, again, where does this come into play as creators and YouTube creators? We're going to talk about that. So just hang on one second. So I've drastically changed my systems and my pricing. I've hired someone to help me with my landing pages. And then I've even hired a copywriter to really help me with my follow-up emails. And I have an email list now, which has almost 1,000 people on it, which within like a little over a month and a half. So I'm really expanding my reach as a creator and doing things now that I should have been doing a long time ago. All right, so let's talk about this first section. What is the mindset, or why do so many creators undervalue themselves? Okay, so we're going to break these down. Number 1, imposter syndrome. Me personally, I did not think that my time was as valuable as a YouTube coach that charges $1,000 an hour or $500 an hour, which, by the way, that's not what I charge now. but I certainly raised my price and I'm getting more people, which is funny. I'm getting more people hire me now than before. So you're undervaluing or underselling yourself because you're worried that you're not as good as person or creator A, B, or C. Come on, guys. That's not true. You need to value yourself. People love confidence on screen, on camera, whether it's clients you're trying to get or trying to make more money, whatever it is. Understand that. The imposter syndrome is real. Understand that you have value. You have things that you can offer people well beyond even what those people, those influencers that you think are just so big and so great. So that's number one, imposter syndrome. Number two, I'll be honest, fear of losing opportunities. You have a fear of losing that sponsorship or that brand deal because you charge $800 for that video kind of integration as opposed to the $200 you were going to offer. So do the math here. You charge $200, and to get to that $800, which you probably should have said, that would be what, 4 of the $200? So maybe you get 3 no's, but you get 1 yes, and you get the same amount of money, if not way more, and a lot less work because you're only doing 1 integration. So understanding what you're worth and understanding that fear of losing your opportunities is what's getting in your way. So that's number 2. Number 3, the belief that exposure is enough. Come on now, the exposure that you're getting and you're like, hey, maybe I'll work with someone later or I'll do a brand deal when I'm ready. No, you're ready now probably. You're just really underselling yourself. And then lastly, comparison to others. We talked about imposter syndrome, but you're comparing yourself to others and you're seeing what they offer. You're seeing their price range and you're seeing how long they've been on there, seeing that they're an authority. Do you know what makes somebody an authority in a topic? Them being willing to express their knowledge publicly and doing so in a way that builds trust with an audience of 5 or an audience of 5 million. That doesn't matter. You are an authority in something when you know more than the person consuming the content. You just got to be good at presenting. You got to be good at knowing your stuff and taking that and packaging it. That was my problem. My packaging was just rubbish. It was awful. I had an interview last week with a gentleman in the gaming niche talking about packaging and how important it is. I highly encourage you to go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already. All right. The next section is this. How do we identify and define our value? So I want to prompt you right now to think about what set of unique skills and expertise do you bring to the table? Is it video production, audio production, editing, storytelling, audience engagement, niche knowledge that makes you an authority like we just talked about? Look at your accomplishments and your successes, and what I oftentimes tell creators is look at the comments section, look at the responses that you're getting, and figure out what makes you special, and then offer that. What do you know the most about? What are you most passionate about? I want to really emphasize the value of your time. That was one of the things that I wasn't doing. I was not valuing my time. You can either sell time, which we have a finite amount of, or your knowledge, which due to digital advances, we can really expose our knowledge and distribute that infinitely through downloads and videos and podcasts and things like that. Your time is worth something. So when people ask me, I can't afford to pay a landscaper or a house cleaner, maybe you're paying a house cleaner $200 every time she comes to your house or office, but what is your time worth? What if you could make $200 in the 4, 5, or 6 hours that they are there cleaning? So understanding your value is a really important thing. Now, let's get practical for a minute. Calculating your worth. First and foremost, research the industry averages for sponsorships and collaborations. Look at your niche, look at your space, email people, reach out to people that are the same size as you. Listen, they're not your competition. I tell people this all the time. If that was the case, I've already had all of my competition on this podcast, and I do so every single year. Nick Nimmin is one of the, in my opinion, one of the best YouTube educators out there. He's on this show every year. Roberto Blake is on this show a couple of times a year. One of the best YouTube educators. You could consider them my competition. I don't. I pick their brain. I email them. I Twitter DM them all the time. We work together. Figure out what they're charging. I remember a couple of years ago, I asked Nick, I said, hey, I've got this sponsorship deal, and I'm giving you guys behind the scenes look at this stuff, but I had this sponsorship deal. What would you do? And I'll never forget his response. He was like, I wouldn't even turn my camera on for less than this. And I'm not going to tell you the number, but it was a funny way that he put it. And you know what? He's worth it because people are willing to pay him that. Okay? Next, consider your audience size, engagement rate, and your niche. Now, certain niches pay different than others, right? Are you an artist? Maybe you can get the Wacom tablet to sponsor you, and maybe they won't pay you initially, but they'll send you the new tablets to review, and then you can get affiliate links, right? Starting small and then getting bigger. Understanding your value is more than just what you're doing now. Your time is worth something. Next, factor in the time and resources required to create the content. How many times have I worked with a creator and they tell me, hey, yeah, this person paid me for a YouTube long form and 10 TikTok vertical videos and 5 YouTube shorts, and they paid me this amount. I said, how much time did it take you? It took me all week. I spent like 32 hours on doing so. And guess what? They didn't spend any time growing their brand or channel because they're worried about this. The time they spent 30 hours plus doing this integration and brand deal, they could have spent growing their channel organically and making way more money in the long run. Don't forget to look at the resources and time that's required to create it. Next, negotiation strategies. This one's fun. I love this one. I love people who are good at sales. I love talking to copywriters because they're so good at this stuff. But you need to be practicing your pitch and anticipate objections. People are going to turn you down. I had a podcast sponsorship that I was reached out to cold this week, and they turned me down. That's fine. Because guess what? The next one may not, and it may be double what I ask for. I know what I'm worth. I know what the podcast is worth. I've done the research. I'm going to use that as an example going forward. This podcast here averages around 20 to 30,000 downloads in a 30 to 60 day period on any episode, depending on the guest. I know what the money is and what people are getting. I listen to podcasts who are open about that. And I'll tell you, it's a lot more than probably you think, and it's a lot more than what I've been getting. So understanding your value and being able to practice your pitch and anticipate the objections is a big deal. Next, know your minimum acceptable rate and be willing to walk away. I cannot tell you how many creators I've dealt with that are just not willing to walk away. For instance, my wife and I were negotiating my truck when I was getting a new truck a few years ago. She was willing just to pay. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's get it. I told her, I said, we're walking out of here. She said, you're crazy. We walked out, called him a couple of hours later. I got the amount off that I wanted. Understanding you need to walk away. As a creator, walking away from that deal could be the best thing you ever do. So come on, next time you're doing this and you have a number in mind, and let's say that number is $1,000 for one long form video. And you may think, oh, that's a crazy amount. Okay, maybe it's 500. Whatever your number is, have it in your head. If they come back at you and say 400, say, no, that's okay. I got a couple of other people in the works. You're not lying because you probably do. Know your minimum acceptable rate and be willing to walk away. Hey guys, a quick pause this week to talk about my new weekly newsletter called the Entrepreneur's Minute. My plan for the newsletter is to only send out one email every week with a recap of what's going on in my business, maybe do an income report letting you know how much money I've made that week or that specific month, an update on my YouTube channel, and just a behind-the-scenes look of what it takes to be a creator, the books that I'm reading, the products I'm discovering, new AI tools and resources. So if you're just looking for a way to better connect with me, Dusty, and see what I got going on, and the different things that I want to write about each week, maybe it's my family, maybe it's my business, it's absolutely free. It's called the Entrepreneur's Minute, and I would really appreciate it. All right, now back to the show. Next, offer package deals or tiered pricing options. This one's a big deal. In our podcast production company where we edit people's podcasts for them, and I also do voice work for like intros and outros, I have packaging deals. Like I have package, let's just call it like a gold or silver, gold, and diamond package. You can call them whatever you want, but like the silver or the lower package would be something like, okay, I'll do one long form and 2 YouTube shorts, and that's $500. Gold package might be, okay, I'll do 2 long forms, I'll do a live stream integration and a mention on my podcast. You get the point, right? Like you tier it out and you give them options to choose from, and it gives them more options and more opportunities to possibly lock in a deal with you. More opportunities means probably more times that you're going to lock in the deal. And then lastly, emphasize the value that you bring to the table. You can do this with a video, testimonials, and then the benefits for the other party. What are they getting out of it? Do you have a similar video for a similar company that did well in the past that you can really go back and show them the concrete results from. Very important. I love video testimonials. I love people who are actually willing to speak honestly and openly about a service or a product and going from there. Next, the importance of setting boundaries. Here we go. Avoid burnout and resentment. Like, you don't want to burn out on content creation because you're worried about integrations and ad revenue and how much you're worth, right? It's a big deal. Maintain a healthy work-life balance. This is a big deal. You need to make sure that you're not always working. You're not always trying to be out there pumping out the content. You're not always out there trying to make money. It's important to protect your sanity and your mental health, right? And then, in turn, protecting your creative passion. You could lose that passion really quickly, and I've seen creators do so when they're worried so much about grind. It's okay to decline offers that don't align with your values or your pricing. So that's what I want to say in conclusion of that. Now, we're going to go back now to the imposter syndrome. We're going to talk about overcoming it and how you can value yourself and look at yourself and be confident when you're negotiating or you're putting out content, right? Everyone, and I mean everyone, from Mr. Beast, Casey Neistat, the biggest YouTubers you can think of, biggest YouTubers you watch, experiences self-doubt at times. I do it all the time. I can't tell you how many times I look at the podcast charts or the YouTube Studio app, and I'm like, man, that's it. This is it for me. I'm on the decline. And then in the same week, I'll look at the same analytics and say, oh man, I'm like in the upper 5 percentile. Understand that everyone experiences doubt. So, what can we do? Focus on your past success and positive feedback. Videos that have done well and performed well, go and look at those. Watch those. Get that in your mind and say, oh man, I am good. I can do this. Okay? And the positive feedback, the good comments, not the trolls who are living in their mom's basement with Cheeto-covered fingers clickety-clacking on the keyboard, the people who are willing to take time out of their day to give you constructive criticism on what you are good at and what you are not good at. Next, surround yourself with supportive people. This may be the biggest, most important thing that I talk about today. Get rid of the negative Nancys in your life who tell you YouTube is a pipe dream. Video content creation is for people who are famous. What makes you think that you can start a podcast? Get those people out. That is one thing that I have never had to deal with. From my early life with my parents and immediate family who were always supportive until now with my wife and my kids, none of them have ever discouraged anything that I've tried to do. If anything, they've encouraged me and made me better at what I do. So surround yourself with the supportive people that'll help you make a difference. And then lastly, celebrate those wins and acknowledge your progress. Look where you were 2 years ago and look where you are now. Celebrate that. Did you lock in one sponsorship but you wanted 3? Instead of worrying about the 2 you didn't get, celebrate the one you did. All right, CTAs, calls to actions. Here we go. I want to encourage you to take action and start valuing your work. Reassess what you're doing. Reassess the videos that you're making and understanding that a lot of you are not making what you should be making and producing for your YouTube channel because you're just so worried about you're just not the person that can do it. Come on, guys. I want to encourage you to understand the importance of knowing your worth and the positive impact that it can have not only on your YouTube channel, but your career. So please, for me, value your work and make sure that you understand that you can do it and you can be the trusted authority figure in your space on your YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for listening. I want to say this because I never really get to do it because I have a guest on the show. This podcast is it means a lot to me. It's my baby. I value the conversations I have. I value the relationship with you guys. Through this podcast, I have really started my consulting services, and I get to work with YouTube creators now on a weekly basis, which is awesome. The community that we've created over on Discord is just, bar none, one of the most fun things I get to witness and see every single month. And it's because of this podcast. It's really exploded from this, and I'm so proud of what we've created. And we're 400 some odd episodes in. I don't see us stopping anytime soon. And it's because of the partnerships that I've had along the way and the guests that I've had on the show, because this podcast wouldn't be what it is without the guests. So with all that said, I'm going to bid you farewell for today. Don't forget to check out all of our links down below, and we'll see you next week with a wonderful interview. Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget you can subscribe to the show for absolutely free in your podcast player of choice. Also, there are ways you can connect with us. You can support us by supporting our sponsor, TubeBuddy, as well as supporting us over on Patreon to get access to our creator Discord community. And I also offer YouTube coaching and consultation, YouTube channel reviews, and just overall business coaching if that's something that you are wanting to look into. So make sure you check us out there, and we'll see you next week.